Ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to our FSMOne key investment team. Well, you will notice that I have plushie or on my hand. So basically, it's one of our mascot. It's something that looks like a TV-alike robot or a robot-alike TV. So probably you want to ask why I want to bring this along with my presentation. Basically, for those who know me since last year, I also stood at this stage and telling you what are our key investment teams in 2024. And as you can see from this slide, we made about 84.6% of rate of our key investment call. And in the 2023, we also managed to make about 62%. Why? The entire key investment team basically is surrounded by one team: technological advancement. Well, technology, as long as you stay in this world, I believe that most of us here has already been adult. As long as you stay in this world, you will definitely feel how rapid is the change of the technological world. So just now I mentioned about the semiconductor, the technology, the AI, they have changing the way of how we live. So this has already become the theme for the year of 2024. I have started my investment journey since 11 years ago. And let me give you an example. For the past 5 years, one interesting phenomenon about investment. You can see that the past 5 years, every single year we have one theme and one buzzword. From 2020, COVID, followed by reopening, 2022, because of Russia-Ukraine war, we have inflation. And interestingly, after the inflation, what's next? Recession. And last year, AI. Although definitely we can't predict what's going to happen in the year of 2025. But here, I just want to make a rigid call. This year, the team will be surrounded by dominance. Basically, the dominance, this team is surrounded by, because all the nations, they are chasing for technological supremacy. They are grabbing more power. And even some of the developing nations, they are grabbing for more market share across the world. So we are quite a fortunate era because we managed to witness the change of the era. And fear not, we have 11 key investment teams this year, but you just need to remember 6 things, right? 1 word and 5 teams. 1 word, I already showed you just now, dominance. What are the next 5 things? You can see that out of 11, we have segregated into the structural, tactical, fixed income, and currency. I will just pause here for about 5 seconds for you to take a picture. Although it's quite long, but fear not, you just need to remember 5 things, all right? Okay? Go. So, what are the 5 things? First thing, US. As you can see from the title, maintain its dominance over the year. When we speak about which are the market that have the most liquid, which market the most available capital, is definitely US. So we believe that with the inauguration of Trump, with all this technological advancement, with all the dominance of the US have, they will continue this dominance. You can see from the chart on the left-hand side, I've shown you the past 40 years trend, where it shows you the top market cap players. 40 years ago, we have 3 companies here: General Electric, a utilities company; AT&T, a telco; and also ExxonMobil, an oil and gas company. What are the similarities of these companies? They serve US as a main client. They serve a US citizen as a main client. Secondly, they are known as traditional counter. 10 years later, we have a new joiner, Microsoft. What are the special part about Microsoft? Technology. 10 years later, we have a new joiner again, while Microsoft is still on the list. We have Apple. Technology. Now, standing at 2025, these 3 companies, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, what are the similarities? Technology. So to draw your attention to the chart on the right-hand side, you can see that US companies, they are not only serving US citizens as a client. And I want to make a rigid bet again. I believe that 50% of people in the hall, we are using Apple or Apple-related products. I believe 50 to 90% of people in the hall, we are using Microsoft Office tools. And I believe that some of the gamers and some of the people who really involved in all this GPU or AI development, definitely NVIDIA, you have heard about this name. So it is showing you how US continued dominance of the world, and it has become the first team. The second team, Japan. Basically, you how to understand this chart, study PB ratio. And because for the interest of time, I wouldn't go too in depth about what is PB ratio. You just need to remember one simple thing. As long as it's above 1, it's good. Below 1, it's bad. Okay? So basically, if you look at this chart, you can see that since last year, I've highlighted because of the corporate reformation, the Japanese authority, they step up and say, hey, you need to change something. And this is the result of the transformation. You can see that throughout the past 1 year, most of the companies, they have starting to increase their PB ratio. Like what I mentioned just now, as long as it's above 1, is in a good path. The second thing about technology, you can see that this is the semiconductor foundry supply chain. Well, also, I'm not teaching you an E&E degree, so I wouldn't go too in depth about this. But what I want to highlight here, usually when we speak of a US, basically when we heard about this semiconductor, we heard about US. Like those companies that I mentioned just now, Broadcom, NVIDIA, AMD. But interestingly, do you know that actually Japanese companies, they are also dominant in the semiconductor foundry supply chain? You can look at all these pie charts. Blue color representing US, and yellow color is representing Japan. So you can see that how Japanese companies is dominating in this landscape, and also how Japanese company is benefiting from technological advancement. Speaking of technology, after Japan, let's back to our domestic space, Malaysia. Well, find some interesting thing about Malaysia. Usually, if you download the CNBC, if you have the Bloomberg, if you have Reuters apps in your phone, they will have a pop-up notification. One interesting fact I want to share with you. Do you notice that it has been not sure how many years ago, we have been receiving Malaysia as a key topic in those media companies? What was the last time? During one MDB, maybe 10 or 11 years ago. So this time around, the Bloomberg, those major media companies, they've been highlighting Malaysia as the emerging tiger because these key investment teams. So I would just want to highlight these three regions is definitely, if you want to invest in Malaysia in the year of 2025, these three regions, you can't ignore. What are the similarities of these three regions? They have two similarities. First thing, political stability. If you monitor on the interstate politics, you'll notice that these three states, actually they have a relatively stable politics. That provides a bottom line to drive their infrastructure, to drive their policies. Second thing, infrastructure revival. For those who already stay in Malaysia, those that experience how infrastructure can change the emerging country. Let me give you an example, the Plus Highway, where we developed during the 80s or 90s, where you can see that although it's just a highway, but ultimately it provides people the leeway to make every transportation, to make all these supply chains smoother. And subsequently, it became the backbone for the development of emerging country. Speaking of Bloomberg, another country that a lot of people like about, China. While the Bloomberg are featuring Malaysia, Bloomberg is also featuring China, but it's on the bad side. Well, we all know that China has been struggling for the past 2 years because of lockdown, because of a property issue, because of a loss of consumer confidence. But this year, we believe that China will be the dark horse in 2025, as long as it fulfills these two conditions. The first condition, the Chinese government, they need to provide more stimulus to the economy. And secondly, they need to provide more support to to their private capital. Remember, just now I mentioned about the one word, dominant. Okay, don't forget that the Chinese government, they have the dominant all over the domestic economy. And what we are certain about the Chinese government is based on those comments that they have featured in the past. The Chinese government, they intend to support the economy. So this is one of the reasons that we think probably investors can allocate some of the tactical allocation in China. The last theme, the fifth theme, fixed income. And usually, people feel like fixed income is just probably not really providing a very sexy return. But that was in the past. Currently, you can see that from the chart on the left-hand side, the current US Treasury, let's say if you invest in 10 years, it can provide you about 4.6, 4.7% of yield. While the MGS also providing about 3.8%. So usually in investment, in economics, we won't use the word guarantee. But economically, theoretically, US Treasury is something as a risk-free rate. Meaning that on top of the risk-free rate, that's the return that you could achieve. And with the dominance of the US government, we believe fixed income definitely worth a place in your portfolio. And last but not least, Malaysian ringgit. You can see that I have 4 figures, and technically 5 figures on this chart. The last figure, 4.2, is our target price in the year end of 2025, where we are more optimistic compared to the market consensus. The market currently is predicting at the year end of 2055, ringgit will be hovering around 4.4, but we are more optimistic that we believe ringgit will hovering about 4.2. USD MYR, you can see that the previous 3 figures, 4.6, 4.67, and 4.77 is called when you can see that subsequently, ringgit has appreciated strongly. Although I can't give you a promise that ringgit will definitely appreciate, but based on our analysis, we believe that because of economic transformation, because of all these macro backdrop, because of the catalyst in Malaysia itself, US dollar against MYR is poised to benefit. So yeah, this is just a short about what are our insights about key investment team. And if you want to know more, feel free to visit FSMOne.com.my, where my team provides articles from time to time, the most updated articles to share with you what's our thoughts about the market. Well, actually, I just added this slide yesterday because I've met one interesting question. Okay, so basically like what Su-Ching mentioned, when we approaching 2024, people are asking, will we face recession? Is the technology market from a bubble? Should I not to invest in the market? So if you have this kind of question and you decided not to invest in the market because you are overfeared, you feel a jittery sentiment across, you will lose out this 30% to 40% of rally. Let's say you've invested in the S&P 500 or even NASDAQ. So what I want to highlight here is the biggest risk is not taking any risk. In the year of 2025, with the inauguration of Trump's coming up next week, definitely we believe that the 2025 will be a year of uncertainties, meaning that more risk. But what I want to highlight here, with more risk, actually it comes with more opportunities. So lastly, I want to navigate your investment journey. You just need to remember 6 words. The first word, dominance, where all the key investment teams are surrounded by dominance. And lastly, the 5 teams, US, China, Japan, Malaysia, and fixed income. That's pretty much wrap up my presentation. Thank you, everyone.